Hello, welcome to Life Talk for Tuesday, August 28th, 2018. I'm Mark Crutcher, president of Life Dynamics, and I'm joined by the usual suspects who are lurking nearby. My assistant, Renee. Hello, Renee.
Hello.
And my daughter, Sheila.
Hello.
Hey, Doppy, how are you?
Good.
You like that being called Doppy. Right. You really like that. Hey, we're going to have a lot of interesting things to talk about, and some of them sad. One of them sad anyway, but anyway, let's get right to it. We've got to talk about Jeremiah Thomas. We knew this was coming, but he passed away Sunday night at 7:20 in the evening.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And, Rusty has been a friend of mine for 30 years, and he's been on Life Talk many times, and he's a good hardcore pro-lifer doing a lot of great work out there. And his family has been, in my view, amazing through this whole thing.
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm. You're right. No, they've been real strong and
Right.
just, it's really cool because as hard as it is, they've let us know what's going on almost on a daily basis with Jeremiah, just keeping
Right.
us updated. And after he had passed away, it took him a little while before he had posted something on Facebook, but he did. And that says a whole lot to me. I mean, Jeremiah fought the good fight. He
Right.
fought until the very end. And I'll tell you what, God has definitely used him. And the article that he wrote for the millennials to read is just so inspiring.
Well, it's not sad for Jeremiah. We need to make sure that that's important to know. It's not sad for Jeremiah. He's
where we all want to be.
Yeah, he's in a much better place. He's no longer in pain.
Yeah.
Right. He did what he was supposed to do on this earth in 16 short years compared to how long it takes normally for people to feel God's.
Well, and 90% of people
don't
can
do
believe
it.
to be 90 and never
Exactly.
accomplish what he
And
accomplished.
so there's nothing that can be said that he didn't do what he was supposed to do for God's plan. What's sad is the people who miss him.
Right.
That's what's sad.
Right, that's right. And we're going to take off Friday and go down there and go to the funeral. And what I thought about through this whole thing, and just to remind people if they don't remember or if they didn't watch the previous shows or don't know what, but this young man was a star athlete in the prime of his life and was struck by this cancer. And it was really, if you read about what he went through, I mean, it was pretty horrible what he had to go through.
Yeah.
And the Make-A-Wish Foundation came along and granted him a wish. And instead of going to Disney World or something for himself, he asked for a meeting with the governor of Texas.
Yeah, Greg Abbott.
And Abbott gave him the meeting.
Yes, he did.
And all Jeremiah asked for is that Abbott would continue to stand up for the unborn and help to end abortion in Texas.
Yes, abolish it completely in Texas.
Right.
And he said that he would.
Right. And, there's not many 16-year-old boys. I certainly can assure you when I was 16, I didn't have that level of character. I would have felt sorry for myself, first off. And then once I'd accepted it and somebody's offering me, well, what do you want? I'd have taken something for me, and that just the way I was at that age. And I think most 16-year-old boys, 99% of them would be that way, but not this one.
Yeah.
This young man was very special. And I'll tell you something else. You never know. People can talk about their faith in Christ and how it guides their lives and so forth. But that's words.
It is words, yeah.
Until it's tested.
We need action.
And the Thomas family was tested right here in about the worst way you can be tested.
Yep.
And I guarantee you they came through with flying colors.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want to dwell on it, but who didn't come through with flying colors, of course, was the pro-aborts who were making fun of Jeremiah on internet, on social media, and saying that don't worry about it, your mom's just having a late-term abortion.
Yeah.
And
or Jeremiah is a part of a terrorist group.
Right.
Because his dad is
a terrorist.
Yeah.
These people,
Right.
But let's make sure we understand something. Don't ever expect more than that from people who support legalized abortion.
right.
This is who they are.
People were surprised about it, but they shouldn't be. That's just their normal agenda.
Yeah. Why would you be surprised that people who support the wholesale slaughter of the unborn would be this cold-blooded about a 16-year-old
Right.
who's dying of cancer?
Yeah, it's nothing to them.
And he had more character in one of his fingernails than these people will ever have throughout their whole life if they live to be 100 in their whole body. They'll never have as much character as this young man had.
Unless they have a change of heart.
Unless they have a change of heart. But anyway, so he'll be missed, but as Sheila says, he's in a better place than, he's in the place we all want to go.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Yep.
Anyway, one of the things we're seeing in the media now is that the abortion lobby continues to try to take the stigma off of abortion and trying to make it just a natural deal. And I wrote about this in Firestorm back in '88, and then I wrote about it again in Access later on.
Yeah, and I think it's important to mention that they've always been trying to do that
Right.
because they know what abortion is.
Since day one.
But now with the immediacy and the publicity with social media and the internet, they're trying it even more and more.
Right. Well, they've got to, because they can't win this battle ultimately.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they went from safe, legal, and rare to safe and legal. They took out the rare part because they don't want it to be known as rare.
And
It's just,
now it's just legal.
Yeah.
They don't care about the safe or the rare, just the legal.
yeah, because it's certainly not.
Right. But anyway, they are trying to take the odor off of it. They know they can't win ultimately. And you can read some of their writings, and they will say, our number one biggest failure has been our inability to normalize and mainstream abortion, either in the medical community or in the community as a whole.
And I mean, that proof is when they come out with new campaigns all the time.
Right.
They say we want to take away the stigma of abortion.
They're saying it.
They openly admit it.
Right. Well, like right now, you've got this Shout Your Abortion campaign. And, of course, the abortion lobby is really pushing this. Oprah Winfrey, for example, one of them in the abortion lobby. She has a magazine called O Magazine, which I've never seen one, but I'm not an Oprah
haven't
Winfrey
either.
fan.
Yeah.
So she's just another pro-abortion moral degenerate as far as I can tell. Anyway, she had a feature on this Shout Your Abortion, and she had an article in there by Amelia Bonow, B-O-N-O-W, Bonow, who's writing this article. And Oprah Winfrey put this in the inspiration section of her magazine.
Yeah.
To shout your abortion and to brag, actually, literally, to brag about your abortion, like you'd brag about a kid.
Right.
Well, what's important for people to understand if they don't know about this campaign is it was a campaign started mainly on the internet, but now like they've been trying to spread out the
Mainstream it,
message.
yep.
To basically say, oh yeah, I'm proud of my abortion, I don't regret it. And what's interesting about Oprah Winfrey putting it in her magazine, look at the audience of Oprah's O Magazine. The audience is middle-aged to older women. And so here she is having a magazine for this age group for women, and it's about, oh yeah, shout your abortion.
Yeah.
So that's interesting that she would promote it in her magazine.
And of course, women don't shout their abortions. There's been, I remember a study that was done many, many years ago where they took two groups of women, I think there was 1,000 in each group that went out on the street and interviewed. And they asked women randomly, have you ever had an abortion? And in both groups, the thing that they did different in the two groups was in one group, they asked the women to identify themselves, use their names, and they were going to put this out in an article. In the other group, they said, no, you'll be totally anonymous, so you don't have to, we don't need to know your name, we don't know anything about you, but have you ever had an abortion? In the second group, like 3 times as many women said they had an abortion than in the first group.
Yeah, because they don't want to be known.
Because they don't want to be known.
And I mean, there are some women who will openly say, yeah, I had an abortion. But if, like you were saying, if you look at the majority of women, they don't want people to know they had an abortion.
Because it's shameful.
And if you look like on the internet, when women are confessing that they have an abortion, it's through throwaway accounts.
Right.
You know, like on Reddit and other forums and stuff. They create these accounts so they can talk about it, but not be connected
Right,
with it.
exactly. Don't want to be identified with it.
Right.
And we've made this point many times here on Life Talk. And by the way, there's other examples of this besides Oprah Winfrey. This Portland ice cream company that's teaming up with NARAL, National Abortion Rights Action League in Oregon. They've come up with a new, how clever they are. This ice cream company called What's the Scoop came up with Rocky Roe versus Wade.
Yeah.
That's their new ice cream.
Yeah.
And half the money from the sale of this ice cream goes to the abortion industry in Oregon. They did the same thing a few years ago back with Planned Parenthood.
And they had this ice cream social, like
Right.
you know, specific time frame. Oh, everybody come out at this time. Let's celebrate.
Kill a few babies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hollywood celebrities now are doing this thing with like Deborah Messing, who I wouldn't know her if she was walking in the room, but I'm not into Hollywood celebrities, but they're doing this jewelry, this expensive jewelry that they sell.
Deborah Messing, she wore the year of Roe versus Wade. That was her piece of jewelry that she wore, a necklace. And then the big trend, though, is the I Stand with Planned Parenthood pins that you see like these female celebrities wearing on the nighttime talk shows.
Right.
And so, I mean, hers was just the latest thing.
Yep.
And she spent a lot of money to have the 73 necklaces made, hoping that people will buy them, but nobody's going to buy them.
Nobody's buying them.
Only
It's just like those
pro-abortion.
T-shirts they had a few years ago. I had an abortion, and they never could sell them. You know, eventually, I'm sure, I guess they're somewhere in a warehouse somewhere, or they're using them as car washing rags or something.
Yeah, something.
But I mean, they're not as popular as they would like them to be, but people do wear them. And so it's important as pro-lifers that we show our support for life. And a good thing, I'm doing a little pitch here. A good thing that other pro-lifers can do is wear our stuff that we have made, like our Protect the Unborn baby pin. You know, it's patriotic theme. People love this pin. So show your support with this.
And then go online and see what it looks like. It's really nice looking.
And then we have like, for any bikers out there, we have like a Biker for Life pin and bracelet. People just go on to lifedynamics.com under our products section. They can see, you know, how they can proudly wear, you know, that they're pro-life on their sleeve.
Counter this other
Which
garbage.
is really important that, you know, the
Right.
pro-life side do it.
Our job is to make sure that they don't remove the stigma. And we've got a built-in advantage here because abortion has a natural stigma to it. And I've always said this, it's like pornography and prostitution. Pornography, prostitution, and abortion all fall into that same group. They have it's a baked-in stigma attached to those things. You cannot remove it. You can make, and I've asked you this before, if you were to go around the country and interview 1,000 families today, mothers and fathers who had a brand new baby daughter born today, and said, what would you like her to be when she grows up? Regardless of the demographic background, regardless of the history, education, anything else, what percentage do y'all think of those parents would say, well, I hope my daughter grows up to be a prostitute?
Yeah, none.
None. Zero.
Zero, right.
Zero.
Yeah.
It's perfectly legal in some places, but let's just say you made it legal everywhere in the United States. And you went forward 20 years. And you went around and did that same survey again and said, now, prostitution's perfectly legal. We may even have it paid for by the government, like we do with abortion now. If you ask 1,000 parents of babies that were born that day, would you like for your child to grow up and be a prostitute? How many of them would say yes? It'd still be zero.
Right.
Still be zero. Because there's an inherent stigma to prostitution. You can't do anything about it. You can't wash it off. You can't sanitize it. Same thing with pornography. What if, let's just say for an example, you have a daughter, which you do, and she came home one day and said, hey, I've met a new guy and I think we're going to get married. Years down the road. She's what, 16?
She's 16, yeah.
16 right now, but let's say when she's 22 or 23, she comes home from college one day and says, hey, I met the guy of my dreams, we're getting married. Oh, well, tell me all about him. Well, he's a major pornographer. He produces a lot of child porn. He produces a lot of adult porn. He has all these porn shops around the country and produces all these videos. How excited are you and your husband going to be about her marrying this scumbag?
Right. We would have to lock her up
You'd
somewhere.
have to lock her up
somehow.
or send her off to some island or something, you know. Abortion falls into that same category. Prostitution, pornography, and abortion, you will never clean up. And our job is just to keep up the pressure.
Well, and how many people do you meet that say, "Oh, I'm going to medical school so I can become an abortionist"?
I can work at Planned Parenthood.
Yeah, woohoo! You
Yeah.
know, no, you don't meet many people who say, "Oh, I went to medical school, racked all that debt just so I can kill babies."
You know, so I can go to
Yeah.
work at a Planned Parenthood death camp.
Yeah.
Only the real defiant.
Well, as
San
you know,
Francisco
we've done,
Medical School.
because of our malpractice campaigns that we've done here, we've done more research than any other pro-life group in the country on the people that work in these abortion clinics. And I can tell you without exception, I've never seen one who is a top flight, frontline OBGYN who says, I want to go to work in an abortion clinic. This is where these people go to work when their medical career is in tatters.
It's kind of like the joke, you know, failed lawyers become politicians.
Right,
Well,
right.
You know, failed doctors become
Abortionist,
Yeah.
right? And that's not something they aspire to. It's something they're relegated to. If they can't get a medical practice going, or they lose it because of malpractice claims, or they're just bad doctors or whatever, the abortion industry will always hire them, always. And it
Yeah,
doesn't.
because they need people. I mean,
Right.
the clinics are closing down because they can't get abortionists.
We just had one close a couple of days ago
Yeah.
that announced that we closed because we couldn't hire an abortionist.
Yep.
This is the number one reason they close. And as far as the lack of character and the qualifications for these people, we're about to release our report that we've been telling people about for the last couple of years.
Yes, we are.
We're just about to the point where we can release it.
Yes.
And it's going to reinforce this even in another area, but it's going to reinforce it again.
Yep.
But anyway, the stigma is baked in. It's never going away as long as we continue the fight. The stigma will never go away. This has been the biggest victory of the pro-life movement, is that we prevented them from taking the stigma off abortion. And as long as we fight, they never will. And that guarantees that at some point we're going to win this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, science and technology is on our sides.
Absolutely.
There's no denying.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, every piece of technology that's come out since Roe versus Wade has supported our position. That's right. Not one, I challenge anyone to tell me, and I'll let any pro-abort come on this show and give me an example of one piece of technology that's come along since Roe versus Wade that doesn't support our position that the unborn child's a living human being.
Yeah.
Tell me one piece of technology that's come along that doesn't
I mean, they
support
do surgery in womb here.
Right.
So,
they take babies out, lay them up on the mother's stomach,
Right.
and operate on them and put them back in.
yeah.
So, you know, don't tell me the technology doesn't favor this,
Yep.
favor us. Now, in a moment, we're going to be taking a break for RoeBots. But first, we had one of our viewers, and we want to encourage our viewers to keep us apprised of things that are going on in their area.
Oh, definitely.
If you have questions, give us a call. We would love to answer your questions on the air. We may even have you on as a phone guest or something if you,
Right.
if you have the right kind of question or right kind of subject you want to talk about. But anyway, this man's name is Tim Page, which is your middle name, because that's my wife's maiden name. And so it's spelled the same way, P-A-G-E.
Oh.
So
The
Sheila.
correct way.
The correct way. Your name that gets spelled incorrectly is Sheila. There's about 100 different ways to spell it.
Yeah.
And most people spell it one of the weird ways. But anyway, yours is correct. I think it's Scottish or Irish spelling.
Irish
spelling. Anyway, Tim Page, he's the founding director of Total Involvement Ministries in California. We had a segment we did here about prison ministries and how we had these women that have these prison ministries telling us that almost every client they see in prison has had an abortion.
Yeah, this came out after we had Patty Smith on.
Right.
Yeah, and she's the woman that said that well, anyways, you'll tell the story in just a moment about what it's regarding.
Yeah, and we had a lady years ago on Life Talk from Waco, where Rusty lives, and Jeremiah, and she did prison ministries. That's what first brought it to our attention. And she said she started asking these women in prison, and she said, I was astonished. I'd be in a room with 25 women and ask, how many of you have had an abortion? And 100% of the hands went up.
Yep.
What does that say to you? If 20% of the general population's had an abortion, but 100% of the women in prison have had an abortion,
They're hurt.
there's something going
They
on.
need counseling, and
Right.
they just need somebody to talk to, and that's what Patty was saying was that she would go in there and talk to these women, and they just needed somebody that would listen to them, and they would just bawl their eyes out once they knew that they could trust her. And
that
they would open up about their abortion.
Right, and the abortion changed their lifestyle.
Yes.
In other areas, not just in areas regarding pregnancy or sex or whatever, but in every area of their life, because they started seeing themselves lower than they did before the abortion. And I've always said this, no woman climbs down off an abortionist table feeling better about herself than she did when she climbed on it.
Feeling more empowered, yeah.
They would some of them would like to make themselves think that, but deep down,
It doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen.
Anyway, this gentleman, Tim Page, was saying that in the jail in Van Nuys, California, they are required to post a sign to all the female inmates as they come in. Post a sign that in a conspicuous place that says the prisoners are entitled to an abortion. But they don't have to post a sign that tells them there are alternatives such as adoption.
Yeah.
He gave me the site for the law, and before I put this out, I wanted to make sure that he wasn't exaggerating, and I went and looked it up, and that's what it says.
Yeah.
In the Van Nuys jail, they are required by law to inform women who are coming in that if you're pregnant, you're entitled to have an abortion while you're in jail.
But my question is, honestly, does this surprise you?
No, nothing these people do surprises me.
It's in California, so I'm surprised that law isn't for the whole state.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I was going to say. This is California. I wonder if it's in other states, or, you know, like, and I'm sure it's Oregon and California, just the more liberal states, but
You know, who knows?
who knows?
But anyway, it just shows you how pervasive these people are and how they've invaded every aspect of our American culture.
Yeah.
Well, and I think also that kind of goes along with eugenics.
Yep.
I mean, it's been proven. Check out My Alpha 21, you know, which is the documentary that we did, that abortion is to eliminate the undesirables, minorities, and of course it would apply to the prison population as well.
Yeah, yeah. I'm surprised they're not somebody, and pro-aborts may have done this out in California, saying, look, this sign saves money.
Yeah.
Because the people that are in prison are the ones that you don't want having babies.
That's probably
So
what their argument was when they were passing this law.
Probably so. Anyway, it just shows you how morally bankrupt the whole pro-choice or pro-abortion mentality is. Anyway, when we come back from RoeBots, we're going to be talking about one of my favorite subjects, and I think ours is the media. Anyway, let's take a moment here for RoeBots, and we'll be right back.
In 1973, the U.S. Supreme Court legalized abortion nationwide. The decision is called Roe versus Wade, and those who defend it are known as RoeBots. This is how they think.
The real issue here is not abortion. The real issue is whether we trust women to make good moral decisions.
Well, first off, this whole line of pro-choice reasoning is idiotic. It's no different than saying that there is no need for laws against rape because we trust men to make good moral decisions. The reality is, as a civilized society, we recognize that every man and every woman is capable of making immoral decisions. So we pass laws to keep them from inflicting those immoral decisions on other people. And doesn't it seem just a little too convenient that the abortion industry only applies this trust women standard to abortion? In other words, to the product they're selling. I mean, why aren't they calling for us to just blindly trust women across the board? Why aren't they saying that each woman should be legally allowed to decide for herself whether she's going to stop at red lights or steal money from her employer, or beat her children, use cocaine, become a prostitute, whatever? And why aren't these trust women people demanding that female business owners be exempt from discrimination laws that make it illegal for them to refuse employment or service to minorities? After all, aren't female business owners just as qualified to make good moral decisions as women who are thinking about buying an abortion? In fact, any law that can be enforced against women is just society's way of saying that women cannot be trusted to make that particular decision. So why wouldn't the pro-choice position be that women should be exempted from all laws, I mean, either they trust women or they don't. We are back. Saturday when I was here, I guess it was Saturday, I had a woman call in to ask about making a donation. But while I had her on the phone, she asked me why I thought the media was so hardcore, rabid pro-abort. And so I got into a discussion with her about that. And then I always believe that when somebody asks you a question like that, she represents a whole bunch of other people that want to know the answer to that same question. Mm-hmm. So, and we've talked about this many times in the past, but we have new viewers coming on all the time, especially younger viewers. The reason is very simple. First off, some of them are just out and out Marxist, and abortion is part of the Marxist agenda. And but that's not the primary reason. I've had a lot of interaction with the media over the years, and whether you're talking about the local yokels, like here at the Denton Record Chronicle here in Denton, or you're talking about the New York Times, or when we did stuff with 2020 or ABC News or CBS. So I've had a lot of interaction with these people from one end of the scale to the other. And the one thing I find about these people is not always that they're ultra-liberals or they're Marxist or they're whatever. My observation about the media is that the overwhelming majority of them are just not very smart. And I don't know whether journalism school just naturally attracts people who aren't very bright, or what it is about it. But I can remember even the person that I dealt with when we did the 2020 piece on our child predator issue when that hit, and I'm sorry, on the baby parts issue when that hit. This one was senior producer for 2020. I mean, this is a top flight position to be in. Anybody in journalism school would love to have this kind of job. And she just wasn't very smart. I was just amazed to see that. And
I would counter and say it's not necessarily the institution of journalism itself, but how it's taught. I mean, if you look at
whatever,
if you look at the majority of universities, they're liberal,
right.
And these people are being taught by liberal professors who, quote, teach in how to be unbiased, when really the way they teach is via a biased view.
Well, I know you were in some journalism.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I studied, and I saw firsthand that, they teach out in front, don't do stories, don't let your bias get in the way. But then the teachers themselves, the professors, have bias themselves, and they're teaching that.
Well, they don't recognize that it's bias. Yeah. But, the reason I say, and the reason I say that you might say, well, why is it then that the pro-abortion position, if your argument is that the media is liberal and pro-abortion because they're not very bright, why is it that the pro-abortion position naturally appeals to the not very bright people? There's a very good reason for that. As y'all know, I used to do, well, you certainly know, you went to a lot of the seminars that I did when you were a baby, and even up till you were probably about 10, you were still going to the seminars that I used to do, teaching people how to articulate and defend the pro-life position. It was an 8-hour seminar, and even in that length of time, I couldn't get everything in that I needed to. And I taught them all over the United States and Canada. I had over 15,000 people go to my seminars. And I used to tell people, I said, look, you're here for an all-day seminar. I'm giving you a 226-page workbook that you're going to have to go home and study in order to know how to defend the pro-life position. Because to defend the pro-life position, you have to know something about biology and theology and physics and medicine, and there's a whole lot of different disciplines you have to know something about. On the other side of the deal, if I were teaching people how to articulate the pro-abortion position, it's a 5-minute deal. I can teach you one line that if you can memorize this line and just regurgitate it, this is all you need to know.
Exactly.
You say, I'm not pro-abortion, I don't like abortion, I don't support abortion, but I simply don't think it's an area where the government or other people have a right to interfere.
I'm for choice.
I'm for choice, and just and leave it at that. That's all you have to say.
Yeah, it basically comes down to critical thinking skills. People who use critical thinking skills, and it's not refutable that the unborn child is a living human being,
right,
versus it's all about choice.
Right.
And I mean, you see that on their side throughout the whole thing. And a good example is Louis C.K., the stand-up comedian who was accused of sexual assault and basically banished from doing stand-up comedy. He recently returned to stand-up comedy and has done his first gig back. And people on Twitter are all up in arms, and people are saying, you weren't banished from stand-up comedy because of a punishment. You were banished for workplace safety. Well, they're talking about that for a comedian. What about these abortionists who, are threatened to have their license pulled, and then they go back to doing abortions and doing medicine? I mean, where's the critical thinking skills on getting up in arms about that?
Yeah. Well, it doesn't take any critical thinking at all.
No.
To defend the pro-abortion position.
Exactly.
And so it naturally appeals to people who don't want to do critical thinking, which means the American media. And it's not that they were all raging pro-aborts, it's just that the pro-abortion position is the easier one to argue.
Well, I know when I came in almost 8 years ago, it was super overwhelming for me to learn I still don't know everything there is to know about the pro-life positions, and it'll probably be a lifetime of learning, but it is overwhelming, and it is,
Right.
there's a lot to it.
There is, and we used to, you got real frustrated and real despondent sometimes early on when you saw the volume of stuff that you had to learn. And we used to joke about it. You were drinking out of a fire hose. That's kind of what you were doing. All this gigantic stream of water was coming out, and you're trying to get a gulp of it every once in a while. Right. And you saw that this fire hose was never going to stop. This is going to be a continuing deal. And that's the way it is. If you were a pro-abort, again, if you went to work for a pro-abortion organization, in 5 minutes they can teach you 100% of what you need to know. So for people who are not very bright, and the other characteristic that you see in the media is they are lazy. This is the laziest group of people I have ever been around in my life.
Well, they want to get their headlines out fast and go on to the next story.
And they're lazy. They don't want to do the hard work. And for that, the pro-abortion position, if you're going to look at the abortion issue and say, if I'm going to take this position, I've got to learn a whole library full of information. If I'm going to take this position, I've got to memorize one line and I'm out. That's what I'm going to do. If I'm the lazy type of people and the not very bright type of people that I've seen in the media, that's going to be the easy way out. Now, real quickly, but we are out of time. A man I've never heard of, a man named Steve Deese. I wish I'm still talking about the media here. And he's a Christian radio talk show host, was recently asked on one of his shows whether they were talking about the support that Donald Trump gets from the Christian community. He got 70% of the evangelical vote and over half the Catholic vote in the last election. And they were saying all the stuff that's happened that's come out about Trump, some of it's pretty disgusting, has not hurt him with that group. What if it was revealed that all these dalliances he had with women before he was president had produced a pregnancy, and he had paid for an abortion of one of his own children, and he was not repentant about it? He just said, yeah, that's what I did, and so what? Would that hurt him with Christian voters? And this Steve Deese said, well, I think it absolutely would. And it would. It would hurt him.
To some extent, and also it depends on how repentant
if he was not
appeared
repentant.
To be. Exactly.
If he was not repentant about
then,
it.
oh yeah, it would.
It would definitely hurt him.
If he seemed to be repentant, then I don't think it would hurt him as much.
But
Apparently, his ex-wife did abort some of their children. He forced her to. It was a August 2015 article that came out.
yeah, that was never proven, but that was
No.
one of the allegations.
There were many.
I mean, there's speculation.
There's
but
speculation.
There's
and
always speculation.
Just like
about
with Bill Clinton.
Yeah.
I mean, Jennifer Flowers came out in the Dallas Morning News and admitted that she aborted a Bill Clinton baby when he got her pregnant. She had an abortion, and I'm sure Bill Clinton paid for it. I imagine Bill Clinton has paid for a lot of abortions in his life, and I wouldn't be surprised that the same thing is true about Donald Trump.
And I'm not trying to defend him, but I mean, what president or what politician basically hasn't had those type of allegations?
They're easy to make.
Exactly.
But here's the thing that I think we need to be prepared for. on our side of this issue. And how, if this does come up, and I think it probably will at some point, and I'll tell you why. I will guarantee you right now, the American media and the Democratic Party is burning the midnight oil looking for one of these women.
Well, yeah, because they want to impeach him so bad they can't stand it.
They can't stand it, and they want to hurt his reputation. If they could hurt his reputation among Christian voters, then he couldn't win, because elections are always close, and you take away the Christian voters, even if they didn't, I mean, the Christian voters were not going to run out and vote for Hillary Clinton. They'd just stay home. That would have sunk Donald Trump, and it would sink him in the next election. So they're looking for this woman. There's three things I want to say. That's the first thing. They're looking for her, and they're burning the midnight oil looking for her. And if she's out there, they will eventually find her. The second thing is, when they do find her, she's going to be an instant millionaire. And they're going to make sure that she's going to be a multimillionaire within hours after they find her. I promise you. And the third thing that you need to be aware of if this happens, it will make absolutely no difference if what she says is true or not. They're just looking for someone that's willing to make the allegation. That's all they're doing. And it won't matter to the media, and it won't matter to the Democratic Party, and it won't matter to any of the never-Trumpers in the Republican Party. If the allegations are true, they're not true, they're provable, they're not provable, all they need to have is a woman come forward and say, Donald Trump got me pregnant and paid me to have an abortion, get paid for the abortion, and I had the abortion. And they're happy right then. You don't have to prove it. You don't have to have any documentation. You don't have to have any evidence. They'll be happy right that minute. That's the way the American media works, and that's what they're doing right now. So we need to be out there looking for that. And my suspicion is that if they were to find one today, they wouldn't use her. They'd start making her a multimillionaire and saying, you just keep your powder dry and stay handy.
Until the next election.
And we're about a month before the November elections in 2018, they'll drag her out into the front of the cameras. That's what they're going to be doing.
Yeah.
So I've never seen a guy, Donald Trump ain't necessarily my kind of guy, and it's a testament to the bankruptcy of the American political system that a guy this morally questionable, let's say, is still somebody that all of us would go back and vote for again because the Democrats put out somebody that was worse.
Yeah.
Right?
Definitely.
They dredge the bottom of the barrel every time, and they put out these moral defectives and these moral degenerates like Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama and Jimmy Carter and all the rest of them. These are the people they put out there.
I think honestly, it would have been different. He wouldn't have even been elected if it wasn't following the presidency of Obama. Obama was so bad that
Right. Anything looked good.
Exactly.
Right.
Compared to
But here again, we've heard a lot of things, and a lot of things are very disturbing about Trump, and we'll hear a lot more that are very disturbing and very indefensible, the things that he's done. But if we had to go back and vote again, it's a testament to how far the Democratic Party has collapsed in this country that they put out somebody that we wouldn't even consider voting for over Donald Trump.
it's sad that it's come down to in the American political system the lesser of two evils.
Right.
But
That's the way
what
it is. That's the way it is. That's what we're always looking at. Anyway, got anything?
I have a couple of things. Bruce and Lauren Stuckey said that Jeremiah was an amazing young man, which we know that. And then also BJ Edwards says hello. And he said compare John McCain, his life and times with Jeremiah Thomas.
Yeah.
So, anyways, that's
Oh,
all.
and an important point, the Democrat, the media, the way the media handled John McCain's death was interesting. And they were getting onto Trump because the White House flag was no longer lowered
Right.
half staff. Well, with anybody else, they wouldn't have done that.
They wouldn't have cared.
Exactly.
Well, first off, they were canonizing Donald Trump. I mean, John McCain.
Exactly.
This whole last weekend. But it's interesting, back when he and Sarah Palin were running against Obama,
Yeah.
he was a racist and the scum of the earth. They were calling him an avowed racist
and
at the time.
now they're standing up for him.
Right. Oh, yeah. They're in his corner.
Yeah.
Y'all got anything else?
I don't have anything else. Just follow us on Facebook or Twitter, Instagram, all of those places we're at under Mark or either Life Dynamics or Pro Life America. Also, if you have any questions or comments or you'd like to see us talk about something on the show, just call. You can call or you can email or Facebook message, however you
Smoke
want
signal.
to. Yeah, there's many ways of getting in touch with us. So,
Yeah, we want to hear from you.
yeah.
We've said this many times. Renee and I have made this point. This is your show, not ours. And we want to have people asking us questions.
Yeah.
And we'll address them here or maybe even have you on the show.
Yeah, have you on as a guest.
Right. But
Yep.
yeah, we need to have input back from our people that are watching. Is that it?
That's it.
Y'all are done? I'll stick you with the fork?
I don't think I can interpret smoke signals though. So,
Really?
yeah. So email or social media would be better.
What's wrong with a regular phone call? I know that's
Yeah.
out of date for you guys, but
Most people,
We text. It's just real quick, easy, to the point. Doesn't take long.
I tell you, I guess I'm a fish out of water these days. I don't get it. I do not get it. Anyway, I'm probably not going to get it this time next month, or this time next year or whatever. So anyway, that's it. Until next Tuesday, remember, Life Dynamics is not here to put up a good fight. We're here to win. We'll see you then.